More charges in the Cincinnati beatings cases. Talking about the beating of those two people, middle-aged white dude, middle-aged white woman who got sucker punched. By the way, I mean, a lot of focus, rightly so, is on the woman getting sucker punched and knocked out because it's it's just difficult to watch. You see a woman lying spread out on the ground, unconscious, blood coming from her mouth after she gets cold cocked by a guy. It's barbaric. But the guy who got beat up by a mob, it was pretty ridiculous too. Not just kicking a guy when he's down, when you've got 10, 15 on one, but also one of the guys who was participated in that melee did a WWE run and elbow hammer him to the ground. It was unhinged. Anyway, one of the three suspects under arrest, as we talked about the other day, was back in court on Thursday, facing three new charges. Hamilton County prosecutors allege this suspect, quote, coordinated, unquote, with another suspect in what police properly described as a violent attack. So there was premeditation, there was coordination, and an ambush. The why is still unclear to me, but more charges have been filed. The other thing that's unclear to me, that police chief, when she did that, a public lecture about sharing these videos of what happened on social media, that those videos lack context and you're making the police's job more difficult. As I said yesterday, the clear insinuation is that there may be mitigating circumstances that are not properly conveyed in those videos that were posted. When in point of fact, what we find out, according to police investigators, according to prosecutors who've now filed these charges that I just described, is there weren't mitigating factors, there were aggravating factors, premeditation and coordination. So how could the police chief be so oblivious to where this case was going based, where the evidence suggested this case should go? I mean, did she talk to her detectives? Maybe not, I guess, since she's being sued by her police lieutenants for discrimination against white officers. Anyway, it seems like we've got a bit of a DEI mess in Cincinnati, but for more on-the-ground perspectives from someone who knows better than me, Ken Blackwell joins us, former mayor of Cincinnati, also former Secretary of State for the state of Ohio, and Deputy Undersecretary at Department of Housing and Urban Development as well. Ken Blackwell, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
It's always good to be with you. Good morning.
Good morning. So, give us your handle on how this has played out over this week.
Let's start with the police chief. I don't know if you're old enough to have, or if you've had an opportunity to look back at that old TV series, Dragnet, and Joe Friday. One of the famous lines out of that series was, "Just the facts, Jack." And this police chief, from the very beginning, has been more concerned about narrative control and getting at the facts. And so she's tried to define this situation in a direction that minimizes the seriousness of it, and she's tried to place blame as opposed to, in fact, getting to the facts and helping build a case to prosecute the wrongdoers. So that's this start there. This was a mob action. It was a beatdown. You've heard a number of people say, well, this started out between two individuals. Maybe it did. It didn't end up between two individuals. There is now a case being made that this escalated to mob action, and then there was just a violent and inhuman actions taken by a mob of people, and now it looks as if a case is being made that a lot of this was deliberate. So, starting with the police chief, and then looking at the situation. This was a weekend of one of the signature events of the city for decades, and that's the music festival. And while in most years there have been very few incidences that spoiled the image and the time that the people had together for the festival. Well, this year, at a time when crime was escalating in the downtown area, we had too few police officers. And why did we have too few police officers? Because in total, we have too few police officers in our forces. Why? One, because it's becoming more and more difficult to recruit folks to be police officers, officers of peace, protectors of public safety. And that's because there's been a coordinated, deliberate attack on police officers, and there's low morale. There's internecine headbutting going on, and this police chief has a force that is looking upon her as a failed leader.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't seem like she's the only one either. I mean,
no, she's not. I mean, she's not. The city council, the mayor. Look.
Yeah, where? Well, that's what I was going to ask. Where is Purval, the mayor? He's been sort of noticeably absent. Is he like in
action?
Is he in Ghana with Karen Bass or something?
Let me tell you. In 1980, I was at a U.S. Conference of Mayors meeting. I got a call from the head of our police force, or the deputy chief, saying, Mayor, you got to get back in town. We have two kids who have been killed by what we think is a serial racist killer. I got back in the town and got right in the middle of making sure that I pulled my community together and that they had a sense that we were going after this. This is the same situation. There's no excuse for the mayor not being on the scene and providing leadership.
And the other thing that happened, this is sort of a little bit downplayed because of some of the incendiary comments from like members of one member of the city council in particular. But the vice mayor there, Jan Michelle Lamone Kearney, she sort of characterized this as, sort of a one-off incident of adults fighting. Very much down. So it seems that, like, sort of speaking of coordination, it seems like this is like coordinated to downplay, to minimize rather than to address this commensurate with what happened. Yes.
Well, look, that's exactly one. The vice mayor understands something, that capital seeks the path of least resistance and greatest opportunity, and capital hates violence. And at a time when we need more capital investment in the city, you can't have a situation where the public perception is that things are out of control in Cincinnati. And Cincinnati is a place where mob action takes place. There's nobody that's going to invest. So that's why they got so much concern about narrative control that they didn't understand the best approach here, the best signal to send is that you're serious about getting to the bottom of this. You're serious about dealing with a judicial system that has half of the judges, using the jailhouse door as a revolving door. They, in fact, put this guy right back on the street with a $400 bail.
Yeah.
What kind of nonsense is that? So it is a systemic breakdown that has to be addressed.
So, I mean, we talk about this a lot because, of course, we have a long run of failed mayors in Chicago, too, and it just seems to be getting worse. like once upon a time, Cincinnati elected Ken Blackwell. Would Cincinnati or some other mid-size urban center, do you think, will they elect a Ken Blackwell again somewhere at some point? Will common sense prevail somewhere at some point? This is what we're looking for.
I think so, and you're starting to see, I think, significant shifts in attitudes and voting patterns among many of the constituent parts in the city of Cincinnati. This time around for Trump, you saw a shift, particularly among black males. At the end of the day, people are concerned about their own safety, and while we have a real problem with the behavior that took place last weekend in Cincinnati, the reality is that there are many residents of Cincinnati who are concerned about their own safety. They're concerned about police response time when they need police help. And so people are not going to sit back and take this when they can begin to see that this has gotten out of control and is impacting their lives, their families, particularly their children. I think you will see a response. And whether it's a challenge to the mayor with Corey Bowman, or common sense. And I would encourage you, Linda Matthews, a black woman, community activist, who said enough is enough, and they have the courage to put their reputations, their thoughts on the line, and compete. I think there will be a change in this upcoming election.
Before we let you go, I did want to get your review of the brutalist presidential library that is under construction right now in Chicago. It's always nice to get an outside perspective. What do you think about Obama land as it is coming to form?
It probably one to me is an eyesore. Two, it cost overruns. Three, I think it is generally being perceived as something that is symbolic of the disaster of his and disastrous impact of his shift of federal policy in the United States, where he, in the final analysis, expanded the welfare state, the power of the administrative state, and did very, very little to improve the living conditions of Americans. So I think it will eventually be symbolic of his failed administration.
Yeah, I like what you wrote. It looks like the Ministry of Truth from a failed Marxist state. Well, it's located in a failed Marxist city, so I guess that would be appropriate. Ken Blackwell, former mayor of Cincinnati, also served as deputy undersecretary at HUD. Ken, thanks as always. Appreciate your time.
Always good. God bless.
Thank you. And he joined us on the Turnkey.Parental line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?